Every entrepreneur is on a journey. Some are on a journey from 0 to 1. Others are on a journey from 1 to 10. On today's episode, I had the privilege of welcoming on two founders who were both on that same journey, giving me two completely but similar lenses as to how they're grappling with growth. Frank Fascinato and Paul Abbass. This episode, we look at how they got from 0 to 1, how Paul is scaling from 1 to 10, the challenges that they've experienced in their business journey, and just taking a real honest lens on actually overcoming challenges. If you're a founder who feels as though they're struggling at any point in their journey, this episode may be for you. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, send it to a friend. As entrepreneurs, we all experience challenges in our business journey. I'm Joe Testori, and the Grappling Growth podcast is my attempt at documenting my entrepreneurial journey while building my brands. I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs, understanding how they grapple with growth. I hope you find value and enjoy. Paul, Frank, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome.
Thank you, Joe.
Guys, we're doing a roundtable today, which I absolutely love because I can get a variety of different questions out to you both and just understand how you two operate as co-founders. So I'll start a question which is to both of you, but Paul, I'd love to kind of get your take because you've got a few more grey hairs than both of us together, so I'd like to lean on your wisdom there. What does growth look like to you?
That's a good question. You know, I think ultimately growth, it depends on how you're measuring growth, right? It depends on what you initially started out with. The end is often predicted by where you start. That's what I often think about, right? So growth for me personally is acquiring new skills that lead to new clients and new adaptive environments. I think ultimately that's what growth is. And today I'm assuming we're going to talk about change and how difficult change is, right? And that's a necessary part of growth. So if your mindset isn't about change, if you're resisting change at every turn, growth is not likely. So I think that's the way I see it. I'm not sure if that's the wisdom of the gray hairs or it's just my mom and dad when I was in my 20s and they told me. I have to say my mother, she never went to university and she never worked in corporate, but I swear the things that she said to me were as if she was a CEO of a major company. I often would say to her, where does this come from? She said, I don't know, but I watch a lot of CNN. So maybe that's what it was.
Frank, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I like Paul's point around mindset because I think that's exactly where I went. And whether it's in business or in your personal life, I think for me, I've always really looked at whether it's myself or others and people that I work with or that I try to help is helping them achieve their full potential. So for me, growth is wherever you are today, wherever you've come from, whatever your journey is or your story, it in a good way, it doesn't really matter. But it's understanding where you are today and knowing that it just means you're going to continue to grow. I hate using the word within the definition, but continue to develop, gain new skills, like you said, Paul, but get to a place of this future state where you're stronger, smarter, better, doing more, you've got more capacity, whatever it is, but you're on a journey. And so, you know, I really come back to the fact that whether it's in your work life or your personal life, the saddest thing is life is wasted talent or wasted potential. And I'm a real big advocate of trying to see and help people grow. That's myself, it's how I look at my business and my clients, but I don't know, it's all about the mindset, it's all about the journey and having something that you're aiming for that's bigger than where you are today.
Can I just add to that, Joe? It's when Frank was talking, I reminded myself of what I had as a vision for my career over 30 years ago. Okay, so this is the gray hairs coming in here. So my brother and I started in the pharmaceutical industry at the very same time. And a year into our tenure, if you will, we were at our cottage and we were sitting around a campfire and he said to me, okay, Paul, imagine Down the road, we both retire from the pharmaceutical industry. What would you like to have achieved? And I said, well, I would like to narrow the gap between industry and medicine, because when the patient is the center, everybody benefits. He looked at me and he said, boy, are you naive. And I remember that comment. It was like an arrow through my heart, because I was really speaking my truth at the time, what I saw, you know. And then you fast forward 20 years, we ended up in the same company, because we started in different companies. We ended up in the same company, and I was about to receive an award for an ambitious program that was essentially doing exactly what I'd wanted to do 20 years earlier. And he came to me afterward, and I'd long forgotten about that fireside chat. But he shook my hand and he said, congratulations, Paul, you've done it. I said, done what? He said, you achieved that naive notion that you had. And that's the thing. And it sparked in me. I said, oh, you know what? I've been pursuing that same objective, and I'm still now, 30 years plus, still actually going after that simple objective that was in my mind over 30 years ago. So I think you end where you start. If your ambition, you know, let's say it's noble, but at least it's an ambition that you have, you know, and it's often, we just talk about it all the time. What is your why? I mean, come on, just boil it down. What do you want to achieve? What is it you want to achieve? And if you pursue that on a daily basis, time's going to go, and you're going to be able to look back and say, I either did or I didn't achieve that.
Frank, I want to ask you, you mentioned something just previously, and there's so many points to extract from what you said there, Paul. Put you on the spot here, Frank. What does your North Star look like then? If we're talking about growth and how that intertwines with what you're doing, what are you working towards then?
World domination. No. I was going to do like the Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've got the same screenshot that I've had for at least 15 years, and I believe that every day is a chance to get better. So my North Star is up here. Sometimes it looks a little fuzzy, to be honest, but my everyday mission, and this is kind of what you were saying, Paul, as well, every day, if you're aiming towards whatever that is, it's the chance to do more, get stronger, learn more things, get better. But really, honestly, my North Star is, and this has shifted, and this is why I'm saying it's maybe a bit fuzzy. Now, after having spent a couple decades, and I say that with a cringe, in industry, because I still feel like I'm not my age, it's to be able to give back and help other people, because I've accomplished a lot of things that I'm really proud of personally, and I've seen myself grow from who I was when I was doing my fireside chat at 24 years old and starting in the industry versus where I am now. And I think if I've grown these skills and capabilities that, and I'm proud to have done that, if I can take those and give them back to other people so they can continue to grow on their paths and do better, that's what I want. Like, really honestly, because it's rewarding, and I'm not saying I've got all the solutions and all the experience in the world as well, but there are a lot of people that are looking for solutions, even if it's just that little hint or that little step forward to help them get to where they want to go, or crack a problem, or deal with a tough colleague. Like that's life. And I think, you know, Paul and I both have been through some interesting journeys in our career and through life, and if we can take that and help other people, like that's what gets me going. I wake up really excited to do that. I just got 2 texts from a couple different clients saying, hey, can we chat later today? And that gets me excited, because I know I'm going to help them out, even if it's a quick 20-minute conversation. But that's kind of me.
So just extracting back in, I don't want to ask the same question to you, Paul, because I think I want to keep this conversation dynamic and on the edge of our seat, so to speak. I don't know the story between the two of you. I know that you work together, you're partners. How did this come about? What is the actual connection? What do you guys do together on a day-to-day basis? I know you spoke about missing each other in Montreal, and Paul, now you're in Vancouver. Explain to us. I'm a listener thinking, who are you two? What do you do together? I'm a fly on the wall. Explain it, please.
Right. Well, we encourage one another. I think that's where it all began, or where it begins. So I work with people who hold Frank in high esteem. And as I journeyed in my entrepreneurial endeavor, so just a little background on me. So I started in the pharmaceutical industry as an employee of big corporate, and I was, 22 years working in corporate. And then I took the plunge and I decided to do my own thing and be an entrepreneur. The reality is, Joe, I was an entrepreneur on the side ever since I was 14 years old. I mean, it's in my blood. And anyway, I took the plunge in 2013 and I started dealing with folks, and they would all talk about Frank Fascinato and how what a nice guy he is and a smart guy. And I heard his name a lot. And then I had an opportunity, because I ran a research project, to reach out to Frank and say, okay, well, I'd like you to be on a panel. We'd like to interview you as part of this study. And the study was called the Bench Smart Series. I think, Frank, you were part of a couple of those. I'm not sure. But anyway, in listening to Frank and saying, oh, this is a smart guy. He's a very affable person, very approachable. And I thought, yeah, he's a great guy. So when he took the plunge about a year ago, I think we were a year and a couple of days from your anniversary, I thought, well, entrepreneurs need encouragement. And every time I see somebody, jump in that big pool, I want to encourage them, And so I did that through LinkedIn. And, then we started talking about how we could work together. And so I have a number of clients. I work largely in the healthcare professional education space, but I do also digital marketing. And so I saw where AI, which is really Frank's, big area, on top of helping people, coaching people in their career, AI is a big driver for Frank. I thought there might be some real good synergy here. And so we've approached a few companies. We've gotten some early success, and we want to keep it going. And then you had a nice conversation with our good friend, Dr. Steve, as I call him, Cormanopoulos, and you said
very intelligent guy.
He really is, and he's like
full of wisdom, anecdotes, stories.
Yeah, he's the guru, right? And he's a very caring person too. But anyway, when he found out that Frank and I were, partnered on some initiatives, he's like, "Well, that's a good fit. Yeah, that makes sense." So there you go.
So a question to both of you, and Frank, that's such a, if I were in your shoes and I heard Paul say that about me, I would be humbled and also at the same time very flattered. And I can see by your facial expressions, you are. If we were to look at the yin and yang of the two of you, where do you think the partnership really blossoms, as opposed to it being 1 + 1 is equaling 2? Where are we getting the 1 + 1 is equaling 11?
I've never thought about it actually, but I think there's I'm just going off the cuff here, but I feel like I probably have a little bit more, I don't even know how to say it. Like I'll kind of go off on tangents, and Paul is he's clear and focused, and he's able to, whether it's with a client or just helping me with business questions as a new entrepreneur, help me stay grounded and focused based on his experience, based on who he is, and it's his personality as well. And I think that's part of the yin and yang that I really like, because he's got this calm energy, and I might kind of turn into a golden retriever with this, hey, we could do this, we could do this. But the two of us together end up coming up with some really cool ideas. And then, like Paul just said, if you add Steve into the mix as well, you bring expertise and depth and just a whole different level of insight with Steve's background. So I think it's a really nice combination. And then what I'd say personally too, and I did feel like that when you were saying it, Paul, because I've just been doing what I've been doing in pharma for a lot of years, and just trying to be myself and hoping that that's what people like. But it's really cool to hear that from Paul. And so when Paul reached out, even initially, to say, "Hey, you're in the pool. I've been in here for a little while. Let me show you how to stay afloat," and walk me off the ledge a couple of times when I wasn't sure what I was doing. I didn't know the up from the downs, and his guidance and coaching on that on a personal level, but on the, me trying to grow my business has been invaluable. And so that just creates a really cool sense of trust and confidence. And so when the business opportunities came after that for us to collaborate and work on things together, it's a no-brainer because like Paul reached out. Like he's the one that initiated this whole thing. And so I'm deeply appreciative of that. And then at the same time, the way we complement each other it's fun and it's pleasant. And I'll just add in another piece. One of the most fun parts of starting your own business is that, everybody says you don't have a boss and you get to choose your hours. Sure, not really, because I was still working till 11 last night, but it was fun work. But what's even better is choosing who you get to work with and the initiatives that you get to explore. And when it's people like Paul, where you feel good, you feel encouraged, you feel challenged at the same time, it just makes you want to do more. So that's where the yin and yang and the value comes from, I think, really.
How much of a game changer would it be for your business if you could learn from the same AI advisors as Tony Robbins, or the people who've been in close proximity to Dan Sullivan, famously the co-author of 10x is easier than 2x? Today's sponsor to the podcast is AI Simplifier. They have put together a 30-day roadmap program to help teach you how to implement AI into your business. They've helped people save 10 to 20 hours per week, add millions of dollars in additional revenue to businesses. And for those who listen to this podcast and decide to sign up with them, you will get a complimentary AI breakthrough session with Steve French, one of the co-founders, and myself to really pencil in and figure out what we can do with your business. Now, back to the episode.
And just to follow on to that, so congratulations, a year deep. I remember the feeling of when I went all in on my business. I was running it on the side, and then I went all in. In the last year, what would you say has been the biggest challenge you've faced and you've had to battle through? And I'm sure Paul was there as a confidant to layer on there. So I'm really curious to see how you see it. And then also, Paul, I'd love your take on, from the outside in, maybe applying Solomon's paradox of being able to look at someone's challenge objectively as opposed to subjectively, and understand and help Frank, unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, so from my end, I mean, I can give you a list of challenges, but what I'd narrow down as the top is really, I think it's a combination of both. I'll give you it, but it's battling the inner dialogue of imposter syndrome when it's reinforced with no revenue. So you can get past that when you've got a client or you've got a statement of work signed and you got things rolling, and it helps to encourage you. Me anyway. But when that's not there and you combine I'm doing everything that everybody's saying I should do, I hope I am. I'm connecting with the right people. Got the value offering clear, or value proposition clear, but the work isn't coming. It's a tough spot to be in, and especially when you're staring down a very clear spreadsheet of all your costs for the next 12 months, and you know how much you're going to have to pay out. Balancing that with zero revenue is a bit disconcerting. So I think the imposter syndrome mixed in with where's the business going to come from was, that's when I said, talking me off the ledge. I think that's where Paul's experience and the calmness that I've also said was extremely reassuring to say, he's like, listen, kid, it's going to work. It'll come. You are doing the right things, and it's normal to go through those ups and downs. But those are a couple tough months when you're doing all the work and you're not seeing the results. But and then a ton of analogies on that one. But I think it's the reassurance that came from Paul's experience.
So just to jump into the point you made there, and Paul, I'd love to get your take in a moment. But just to expand on that, because we have a lot of listeners who are early stage founders, people looking to start a business. And Peter Thiel wrote the book 0 to 1. I know this myself. It's way harder getting to $100,000 than it is to get from 100 to 300, 500.
Right.
For you, if you could, as much as you can, could you give a bit of a play-by-play as to how that first year looks? Because what you've spoken about is the reality for a lot of founders, and I know that was the same for myself. I quit my job in May 2019. I think I had £200 worth of monthly recurring revenue coming in, but I just said, fuck it. I had a job in banking in central London, and I said, so be it. And it took, for me, it was the May until August. That's when I think we got up to £2,200 worth of revenue per month coming in, and then we grew, and then we dropped down, we dropped, and it was just like that for the first, realistically, over 18 months. And I think people have this illusion that all you need to do is quit your job and then call up 10 contacts, and that's it. You've doubled your income. What did the last year look like for you?
So I'm going to preface it with one thing, and I've intentionally I've stayed very focused on changing my language, because I used to say I got really lucky right off the bat, and it wasn't luck at all. I hustled and I grinded, and the deals and the clients that I ended up landing very, very quickly, it wasn't luck. And I say that in a humble, but to your point, if there are other entrepreneurs listening, it's not luck. It's the relationships and the credibility that you've built over years that, when you put the effort behind that and you line it up with an opportunity, hopefully can turn into something. So I was hustling right off the bat. So I incorporated June 9th, 2025. So that's why, as we're recording this, it's a year and a few days. Right off the bat, I worked to secure one major client as a strategic advisor. And again, I'll change the language from being lucky to, it was built off of the credibility and the work that I'd done with them and the relationships that I built, but also realizing that I could add a lot of value that was relevant for them. So secured that one, and that was a fantastic experience for me. It was a 6-month contract, but it was fundamental for me to reduce some of my stress right off the bat. And in the meantime, great advice from Paul, don't sit on your laurels. It's all about BD. And so I pushed super hard on social content, with leveraging my network, expanding my network, getting present on podcasts, on stage and conferences across Canada, across the US. Like I as much as was physically possible for me, I pushed and I got myself out there. And that's where I learned the sales cycle, or the BD cycle, was a little bit longer than I'd hoped. So exactly your point, Joe. Like, you didn't just call people and they go, great, let's give you some money. But the hustle was there, and it probably took, in parallel, another 6 to 8 months to get to my next substantial client. And as long as the what they were looking for fit with my skill set, I'll be honest, at first I said yes. As long as I could absolutely represent what they were looking for and deliver. If it was in my scope, I said yes and I went for it. After the first 6 months of my business, though, that's when I sat down and I said, okay, I've done a few different things. What did I like? Where did I get a lot of energy? Where did I show up my best? And where did the revenue come from versus the costs? And that's where I made a bit of a pivot in my business to refocus as of January. And now I'm a lot more clear on what I want to put out in terms of content, in terms of my value prop, and where I can most help clients. But that hustle and grind is still there. It's just a lot more lined up. And again, with the encouragement of people like Paul in the background to go, yep, this is the right track for you. And Paul called it out as well, right? The focus on AI makes sense with the market. It makes sense with my experience and the value I can bring to clients. And that's where I'm seeing the most traction. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but a year's gone by, and I just can't wait to see where year 2, year 3, year 4 goes, and it's exploring new opportunities. So,
oh, just on to that, I think there's so much to unpack there. Frank, you've done such a good job really detailing the 0 to 1 journey, and I published a video on YouTube probably 2 or so years ago talking about how scrappy the early stages are, and there's this false pretense online that you need to have the proven system built out from day one. But in reality, I think the best way to generate those early clients, build that traction, is from warm networks and really just rolling up your sleeves and getting in the trenches and getting dirty. Paul, the stage of 1 to 10, you've been running your own business now since 2013, so 12, 13 years of experience. Detail to us just a little bit more about how things change going from 0 to 1 to 1 to 10. How those years, once you've laid the foundation, you said, I know what I want to give to the market. I know how I want to communicate to people. How does that pivot? Because I thought I went through that experience recently where I said, I felt it was just a light bulb where it just felt like it all clicked. And I knew I could say no to things that didn't align with me because I wasn't in that, Frank, as you said, it's that feeling of stress. And I think every entrepreneur has that moment where plural, where they're just thinking, this just isn't clicking, or what I want to represent isn't there. And then sometimes you chase the woman in the red dress because, well, you know what? She's going to pay the bills and she's attractive. I'd love to get your take on that, Paul.
Yeah, it's fascinating when I look back to the first days when I tried this, going out on my own after, 22 years working for corporate. I'm reminded that in my first few months, I decided that I was just going to build my LinkedIn connections. Because what I realized is like, oh yeah, I've got a lot of contacts. No, you don't. They're all in one company and they don't want to talk to you anymore because you're not in that company anymore. And I thought, oof, that hurt. I thought I had all these connections. I didn't have many at all. So I said to my wife, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to have 500 connections by, in the next 2 months. And I did. And then, okay, I'm going to get 1,000 in the next 6 months. It's kind of a fool's errand because at the end of the day, those contacts, they're just numbers. And there's a lot of noise that's generated from that. And you think you're doing well, but you're not really doing that well. And then I remember I pared it down to like 250 people. And I remember one gentleman wrote me and said, did you delist me? And I said, ooh, does LinkedIn show you that? He said, no, I just got this feel. I just went in and I checked. We're not connected anymore. I said, oof, thank goodness that LinkedIn doesn't tell you that you've been delisted, But I said, no, I'm just getting back to my core. And this is really what I want to talk about here in this segment. And to your question, Joe, is what are your business fundamentals? That has to be really clear, right? It's not about people in your network. It's about people who can align with your business objectives. They're core to your fundamentals. And if you can say, yes, I've got my fundamentals, they're strong, then even in a bad period, and believe me, there's lots of bad periods, we know this, and someone like your spouse comes to you and says, are you sure? My answer was always, the business fundamentals are strong. This is a bad period. We're going to get through it. And I was very, very, very close to quitting and going back to that comfortable job,
Paul, just before we expand on that,
yeah.
When you say business fundamentals, what exactly do you mean? If I'm listening in and I'm thinking, what does he mean by business fundamentals? What do you define them as?
Well, the fundamental is what do I bring to the market? What does the market need? What is the alignment there for? Who are the people with the D, the decisions, right? But fundamentally, is there still a need for what you're offering? But in your back of your mind, you have to understand there are certain parameters, realities that you're going to face that have nothing to do with your skill. They're just market dynamics. Things happen. Crap happens, right? So you have to be, and here's another thing. I remember teaching junior achievers. I was doing it as a part-time thing, a volunteer thing. I don't know if you have that in England, but it's essentially business people, entrepreneurs. They go into high school or junior high and they start talking to them about, business and fundamentals or whatever. What I learned in my research at that time, this is a while back, was that only was like 10% of startups survive to year 2. And 5% survive at year 5. Holy cow. If that doesn't wake you up every single day to be giving your best and to be exploring what it is you're bringing to the market and aligning your network, not with numbers of people, but actual connections and allies that will help you achieve your objectives. If you're not focused on that, you'll be one of the 90% that fails, 95% that fails. And you should celebrate your anniversaries. I did every year. I still do. June 23rd is my anniversary. I was once a interview for a big job, in Europe, and I was there, and the guy asked me, "What would you do, Paul, if you got this big job?" I know he wanted me to say, "Well, I'd run analysis to see where we are today and where we're going to go in the future." And you know what my response was? "I'm going to have some chocolate cake." He did not like that answer. I did not get the job. But I like the answer. Why? Because it's just, you need to stop and celebrate these moments, okay? Before you do any work. And so this is, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that you're going to feel the weight of the world on you, all this pressure. You need to celebrate those moments, okay? And I hope you did, Frank, a few days ago, That's what you need to do. So these are the fundamentals are, your purpose, your alignment, your network, and driving everything forward. And if there's still a need, keep going for it. What happens between year 1, 2, 3, and then 10, 20, 30? I'm not there, obviously 20, 30, but it's a realistic growth objective. So I said to my brother, that same brother is now retired and he's got his pension, he's a happy man. He said, "So what are you doing with your business? Like, what's your growth dynamic? Like, what's going on?" I said, "1 new client a year." "Oh, that doesn't sound very ambitious to me, Paul." I said, "No, I can't lose any of that I have, and I got to keep my sales funnel full. But I do just want to have 1 new client every year, because within 1 client is different departments that you can work with. So it's not just 1 project, right?" And that's been my goal. It's still my goal. So I celebrate. Maybe I do have some chocolate cake when I do get a new client. So these are the things that I think are really important for an entrepreneur to keep in mind.
How much of a game changer would it be for your business if you could learn from the same A advisors as Tony Robbins, or the people who've been in close proximity to Dan Sullivan, famously the co-author of 10x is easier than 2x? Today's sponsor to the podcast is AI Simplifier. They have put together a 30-day roadmap program to help teach you how to implement AI into your business. They've helped people save 10 to 20 hours per week, add millions of dollars in additional revenue to businesses. And for those who listen to this podcast and decide to sign up with them, you will get a complimentary AI breakthrough session with Steve French, one of the co-founders, and myself, to really pencil in and figure out what we can do with your business. Now, back to the episode.
I think the points you've raised there goes in line with a lot of, or some of the best advice I've got on this podcast. And one of our big missions from this podcast was to produce content like this that people who haven't walked as many steps as you or Frank before can listen into and say, you know what, actually, it is okay. And it's not just okay, it's encouraged to turn around and smell the roses. And I know myself, that was something I massively struggled with. I think day to day, yeah, sure, I do celebrate now. But I would always have this job's not done mentality. Okay, great. Well, so what? You got to get back to the drawing board, and you take a step back and you think, well, actually, what is the purpose of all of this? If I'm so fixated on the destination that I stop enjoying the journey, well, the journey is 99% of what we're doing, and I'm not making the most of it. And they say the idiom, a man who enjoys walking walks further than a man who doesn't enjoy walking. And I think the thing that I really feel passionate about within my business is building a business I want to walk with. Because when you're not walking with the right business, then that's it. Open up questions to both of you. You can decide who wants to answer first, whoever feels they've got the quickest instinct with this. You could both take a step back and give advice to the 20-year-old Frank, 20-year-old Paul. It's one golden rule for life you'd give to those younger selves.
I'm going to jump in here, Frank. Turtles win. That's what I would tell the 20-year-old self. Don't be that rabbit that wants to just go, get this new shiny thing and, pursue this at all costs, this other opportunity. No, 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 no. Know your fundamentals, know your purpose, stay grounded, and just plot away. Cycles are going to be long. These sales cycles are going to be quite long. The profit that you see today is gone tomorrow, unless you have a plan, right? To take some of that profit, no matter how painful it is, and actually invest it. Because there's going to come a day when you're going to need that money, and that rabbit instinct is not going to get you what you thought. Okay, so turtles win. That's just the bottom line on that one. So that's what I would have told my younger self. Now, my younger self would not have listened to me, but I hoped he would have.
So listen, I'll throw mine in, and at first it might sound like it's contradictory to Paul. It's not, but mine is, and this is reflecting on me, right? It's really the question of what would I tell my 20-year-old self, but it's just go for it. Not in the rabbit versus the turtle way, but just get past the self-talk or the imposter syndrome or there's no way I could do this, or all the negative that is naturally in everybody's head. I mean, if you don't have that, good for you. But I haven't met anybody that doesn't have a little bit of self-doubt. And what comes with age and experience and going through a lot of crap sometimes, whether that's work or life or anything else, you build this resilience, and we talk about it all the time, but to know that it's not that bad. And so much of the worrying that you do, and that I did, of the what ifs, 95% of the time, the what ifs didn't even come. But I spent all that time worrying about it and all the different permutations of this or that or this. And the thing is, just go for it. Just push yourself, go for it. And, if you can get past some of that self-talk and the imposter syndrome to just jump in the pool, you're going to be okay. And there are going to be people that will support you, that are going to help you out. It might not be the people you expect or anticipate, and it might be people like Paul that are already in the pool going, hey, I'll show you how to swim. I'm going to give you some tips. It's sometimes, and this is okay, but it's not the people that you probably thought were going to be there. And I agree. Paul, your example of I had this big network on LinkedIn, and I got thousands of people. It's just numbers. And that's not a bad thing, but not expecting to get all the help in the world from what you think is there is okay. And that's not a negative on yourself for what you bring. So again, it's just looking at this to say, just go for it. You're going to find new connections. You're going to find new opportunities. But things are going to work out. Like they really are, if you keep focused on where you want to be. And if you can try to squish that self-talk as much as possible.
I'd like to jump on that self-talk thing because I think it's critically important. What we say about ourselves, to ourselves, is critical. When you make a mistake, do you say, oh man, what a dummy. Oh God, why did I do that?
Yeah.
No. I'm glad I did that. I learned from that. This is the best thing that could have happened right now. I'm glad I didn't go down that road. Good for you, Paul. Good for you, Frank. Okay, let's go. Unfortunately, we don't talk to ourselves in the manner in which we often talk to others. And I think it's good to be reminded, that, and these are subtle things that play with your psyche. So, yeah, that's what I would add.
I'm going to double down because, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this online and little clips that pop up in your social feed and stuff. But and this is what I've got a picture of myself when I was 5 years old here. And if you think that, something happens, you go, oh, you idiot. Oh, that was so stupid. If you think you would ever say that to the 5-year-old you'd be crazy. You would look at that kid and say, hey, bud, it's all right. What'd you learn? Stand up, brush your knees off. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I changed my internal, or I try as much as possible to change my internal self-talk to more the coach, the encouraging coach, because not everybody's going to be out there encouraging and helping you. And if you are one of those negative voices to yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors. I'll set my own bar high. I'll push myself. I'll go through struggle, but I've also got the voice going, you got this. That's okay. And I agree, Paul. You lose a contract, you lose a deal. All right. I'm not saying it felt good, but what did I learn from that? I'll take a step back and go, okay, why did they say no? Was it this or this or this? And what did I learn from that? And if you can have that really honest growth mindset and see the opportunity or the positive that can come from a challenge or from a setback, it's going to make your life so much more rewarding, and you're going to feel better. And it's not easy to do it, but I'm a huge believer in that, Paul. I think it's something I strive for every day, because things happen every single day. You got to be able to get past it. But that's another big piece of advice. That's great.
Building a business is building relationships. And what are the core of relationships? What qualities do you like to see in another person?
Yeah.
For me, it's integrity, it's honesty, and it's empathy. Like, you've got to have those three things. If you don't have those three things, I find it very, very difficult to deal with that. You have to know that who you're dealing with, that when they say they're going to do something, they will do it. That if things fall, they're not accusatory, they're rather just empathetic, right? They don't tell me what I want to hear, they tell me what I need to hear, right? Those three pillars drive a good relationship, and no matter if it's personal or business. Probably more important in business because a lot's on the line.
Yeah. So well said. Naval Ravikant said, if you wouldn't do business with someone for the rest of your life, don't do business with them for a day. And that is honestly the way how I approach every relationship that I look at. We're dealing, most of us, with clients, not customers. We're not dishing out bottles of water, cups of coffee. We're building real deep-rooted interpersonal relationships, and we look at it in that way with whatever we do. And the same as you, Paul, I say my mantra is integrity above all else, and equally it's leading with that honesty as best as possible, and also just looking at empathy is what you said. It's when things go wrong, it's okay, well, we're all human, but it's about how we take accountability for what's happened. Gents, what's next for both of you, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, and that's largely, I love LinkedIn, actually. I must say that I make it a purpose or project every 6 months to go through my connections. And just a little pearl or tidbit. We think that everything's static in life, but when you go through your network, like one by one, every 6 months, every year, you find out, oh, that person got a promotion. Oh, that person's looking in a different area. Oh, wow, that totally aligns with where I am. So this mundane, it's important. It's really important. And so, yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. Legitimed.com is a small website that I have for my company. I should tell you a little bit about behind that name. So when I started out in this whole area of digital learning and digital marketing, there were a lot of people who want to say that they were really good at this stuff, and they didn't have the pedigree necessarily. So I'd spent a decade building digital solutions for a major pharma, and I thought, well, I think I'm legitimate. Oh, hold on a sec. Oh, okay, legitimate, and that's where it came from. Anyway.
Love it.
Was that a shameless self-plug there? I'm not sure. Anyway.
Listen, the last 2 minutes of the podcast, you can go promote whatever you want. We'll add the links in to the show notes. Frank, what about yourself?
Yeah, so similar to Paul, I mean, people can grab me on LinkedIn, obviously. I've got some Instagram content if you want to see what I'm cooking, because that's a lot of fun too. But Treviso Consulting is where I'm going to spend all my time on business. I'm fully focused on this, and we talked about it earlier, but what drives me is helping people achieve their full potential, and whether that's through helping clients as a group or as individuals on things like AI or digital transformation, through strategic business advisory, or through leadership and growth. Those are my 3 areas of focus, and what's coming next as we cruise into the second half of 2026 and into 27 is going to be more focused on those three areas, but some really cool, exciting things that I'm gonna look to jump in a new pool in 2027, but all aligned with helping people grow, helping teams and individuals do what they do best and achieving their full potential. But I'm really excited about where this is going, and having new connections like yourself and continuing to foster relationships we've got with people like Paul. But yeah, really excited to have a good conversation with both of you guys today. This has been a lot of fun.
And Joe,
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Joe, I want to compliment you. I think that what you're offering through this podcast is necessary for entrepreneurs out there. And, you know, when I saw Steve interviewed by you, I thought, well, this is a very genuine individual who's interviewing Steve. You know, you're listening intently. Active listening, boy, oh boy, that is a crazy skill. And you have it, Joe. So I want to applaud you for that. I've really enjoyed the interview with Steve, and this has been very enjoyable as well. So thank you, Joe.
That's so kind. Thank you. We're all here trying to grow. So if I can take snippets from people who are further ahead of me, or even just people who are navigating stuff, then everyone has a story. Everyone has something that we can learn from. And I think if fellow Canadian George St. Pierre, he said, always be a white belt. So maybe we'll leave it on that point.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you, gents.
Thank you, Joe.